Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of No More Excuses. It's Monday, so happy Monday motivation. This is the podcast. It's all about kicking those excuses to the curb and really investing and taking charge of your business life, but also personally and professionally, especially with what I want to talk about today. Yes, I want to talk about tackling the beast that haunts many entrepreneurs: burnout. Oh, it's the feeling that the tank is empty, but the race is far from over. And, if you've listened to me for a while, I like to say you got to find what keeps you up at night is what gets you up in the morning. But we need to be careful about that because we don't want to be so exhausted that we do burn out. And many of us do. I have over the years. I am your host, Sandi Ballard, the Badass Business Coach. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, for sharing this podcast with others, and investing in you and your success. So let's whip into burnout, and I'll give you some tips. And I'd also like to hear from you on how to overcome or maybe avoid burnout. Let's see. So burnout, it's real. It's the silent epidemic among the majority of business owners. It creeps up on you like a shadow or like a cold. You kind of feel like you wake up and you're not sure, is this a cold coming on, allergies, or burnout? Before you know it, you're exhausted. You're just being a little shit. You're snarky. You just can't, get the enthusiasm, muster up the enthusiasm to grind anymore. You just want to go away, right? That whole, for those of you who are old enough to remember the Calgon takes me away commercial. Burnout's the result of your relentless stress, unfortunately, the kind that comes from wearing too many hats that a lot of us sole props have to do, and the pressure to succeed, and the fear of letting anyone down, clients, employees, family, or even yourself. Because of being a go-getter, being an overachiever, you often push yourself to the limit. And you're the first to arrive, the last to leave, and the one, like me, a lot of times who wakes up in the middle of the night, not really fretting, sometimes fretting. I don't know, maybe you forgot to do something, thought you did something. Did I do something? Do I have enough inventory? Am I ready for this meeting or this event? I have this big pitch coming up. Whatever it is, you wake up in the night and your head is spinning. A lot of times before any of my trips where I have a lot of meetings and events, I will literally email myself. I got to get it out of the head, out of my head. And so get it out of my head and get it onto paper. I email it to myself. I print it out in the morning and I have everything there. I can relax and I can get back to sleep. A lot of times people will write it down, whatever works for you. If you're one of those that wakes up in the middle of the night, get it out of your head. That should be tip number one. So there you go, bonus tip. Burnout is a cocktail of long hours, high stakes, and the constant need to be on that can lead to a sense of overwhelming exhaustion, especially if you're an introvert. Yes, I'm an extrovert, but I can still get exhausted, especially if I have a bunch of events, networking events, or meetings back to back in a week. By Friday, I don't want to talk to anybody, and I love to talk to people. So here's the kicker. Burnout doesn't just happen because you're busy, right? You have to be productive. It's often because you're not seeing the fruits of your labor. And I know a few of you who are probably listening to this and you know who you are. It's never good enough. There's never enough hours in the day. How much should I work in a day? When is enough enough? When is good enough good enough? Right? You feel like you're on a treadmill going nowhere fast. It's the lack of control over your workload, the absence of appreciation, because who tells you? A lot of times your clients will tell you, but not always tell you. If you don't have staff, or maybe if you do have staff, does your staff come in and go, gosh, business owner, you're doing great? Rarely. So how do you feel appreciated? And the feeling that you're not quite sure where your business is heading. Are you certain of your future? Are you certain of everything that you're going to achieve in your success? So, business owners, listen up. Burnout is the enemy of progress. It's the brick wall between you and your goals. You got to recognize the signs early. How do you recognize it? Fatigue, irritability, the lack of satisfaction from achievements. You've got to take action. Yes, you need to take action to avoid burnout. Remember, business is a marathon, not a sprint. So you've got to pace yourself, fuel up with self-care, reach that all the time with my clients, and keep your eyes on the prize. Because at the end of the day, the business needs you, but you need you more. I talk about this a lot as well. If you are not operating at 100%, if you've got so much chaos going on in your head and you're burned out, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, how much are you operating? How much are you showing up and giving to your clients, your customers, your colleagues, your vendors, collaborators, your family, and you? Put yourself number one. It's not selfish. So tip number one, prioritize self-care. Prioritize it like it's your job. I have a client that takes Wednesdays off. It's massage, it's friends, lunch with friends, shopping. You know, yes, maybe appointments and just shit you got to get done. But guess what? It's time for you. And self-care isn't just bubble baths and face masks. It's about getting enough sleep, eating right, setting boundaries, saying no to the non-essentials, saying no or not right now, so you can say yes to your health and sanity. I don't care if it's take a day for golf, go to a movie, just go eat lunch, like I said, with your friends, without your friends. Maybe if you are introverted, you need time for you alone. Depends on what you do for a living. You know, just think about what fuels you, what refuels you. Okay. Tip number two, delegate like a boss. And I know this is hard. You got to do it or pay for it, right? So if you don't have staff, what can you outsource? What can you afford to outsource? You know, that's a thing I like to help clients with a lot. Years ago, I had a client, he realized he was paying himself $11 an hour to do the tasks he was doing versus paying someone. He didn't think he could afford to pay someone. But what's your hourly rate? 75 an hour, 175 an hour, 275 an hour, whatever it is, think about the task that you're doing. And is that a good use of your hourly rate? And if you don't think you can afford to do it, think about how much time it's taking you to do something you're probably not really good at and is not a good use of your dollar an hour rate. So how much time will you get back by passing that off to hiring someone to outsource? There's interns out there, you know, with AI and virtual assistants, it's so much less expensive to hire out, to outsource. And if you have staff and you're not delegating and you're not using them properly, then shame on you. And we got to figure out how. You got to figure out what's not a good use of your time, but what also you're not good at. Look at the tasks and the to-dos that get passed over from your daily to-do list. What's not getting done? What keeps getting carried over? That's your first hint on what you need to get off your list. All right, and tip number three, this is huge. Reconnect with your why. Burnout often creeps up when you lose sight of the passion that got you started. Take a step back and remember why you started on this journey, this adventure. Let that purpose be the fuel that reignites your drive and propels you forward. Remember, burnout is not a badge of honor. Overwhelm is not a badge of honor. It's a roadblock to your success. So before it crushes you, let's crush it, right? No more excuses, no more burnout, just pure, relentless, badass progress. Again, I'd love to hear from you. How have you overcome burnout or avoided it? What self-care do you do? Or what do you do? You know, what do you do? Maybe you don't think it's self-care, but it's something outside and of your business. What do you do to help you check out a little bit? How often do you take vacations or even long weekends? You know, can you tell that the burnout is coming on? Oh, I'd love to hear from you. Sandi at sandiballard.com, Sandi with 9. Why? Because my mother was a pain in the ass. So I look forward to hearing from you. Watch my social media all week for more in-depth stories about clients, how they've overcome it, how I've helped them overcome it, and keep pushing, keep thriving. And until next time, stay badass. Cheers.